Hi everyone, how you all doing? Welcome back to a new lesson. In today's class, we are going to be making this beautiful dress with side gathers. Looking so beautiful. So let me quickly turn the back for you to see how it looks. So you can see that. So this is what we are making right now. So let's get into it. Hi guys, how you all doing? Welcome back to a new lesson. My name is Bilikis. In today's class, we are going to be making a short stylish dress which is going to be gathered by the sides. It's going to be sleeveless and a short dress. So first you need the length of your dress. So mine is going to be 40 inches with seam allowance. Okay, so yours could be shorter. It could be 38, 36, however you like it. So now I'll be making use of this fabric I have here. It is 3 yards of fabric, and it is by 60 inches. So that is what I'll be using. So that aside, now you will need your basic dress pattern, but I'm going to be explaining everything in details right from the start, so just listen attentively. So here I have my pattern paper. Remember I told you the length of the dress is 40 inches with seam allowance. So look at it. This is the shoulder line to the hem of the dress. I have 40 inches. Can you see? So I have for the front and I also have one for the back. So the first line will be your shoulder line, okay, which is this very one, and the next one will be half of your armhole, which you use your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So mine is 9 inches, okay, and then my bust point, the highest part of my bust is 11 and a half. Then the waist, which is 17 and a half, and then the hip, which is 26 inches, and then the length of the dress, which is 40 inches. Hope that is well understood, which I also label. Now another thing here, I just use my pencil for that, is the under bust measurement. So I'll just write UB under the bust. So you just take it from the nape of your neck to where your bra stop underneath. So it helps in tightening and giving your dress fitting. Good. The next thing you want to do is, or the first thing is the 3 inches, 8 inches standard. So first you measure 3 inches here. You mark a point. Then you measure 8 inches here. You mark a point. Then at the 8 inches, just come down by 1 inch, which I did here, and then connect from that 3 inches all the way out. Once that is done, the shoulder slope is formed. The next thing is to insert your shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 17, so divided by 2, that will give me 8 and a half. You can have seam allowance, but this is a sleeveless dress. We are still even going to reduce it. So this is 8 and a half on the chest line, 8 and a half. Good. The next thing is to insert your bust circumference. My bust circumference is 45 inches. Divided by 4 is going to give me 11 and quarter, or 11.25. The next thing is to go to the waist. My waist is 39 inches. So when I divide that by 4, I'll have 9 and 3/4. Then on my hip circumference is 48. Divided by 4, that is going to give me 12 inches. So to that, you can always add inch to make it 12 and a half, but it's going to be gathered, so that's not really necessary. So once that is done, I'm going to connect first with my pencil. The next thing is to finish up the armhole. So for the armhole, just come up by 2.5 inches, and then come in by 3/4 of an inch, or 0.75. Now the next thing will be the bust span measurement, the distance from one nipple to the other. So mine is 9 inches. Yours could be 8, yours could be 7.5. You divide that into 2, and mine is 4.5. So I'm going to mark it on the bust point, straight to the hip and straight down. So now on the waist, I'm just going to come in here on this side by 1/2 inch. And then if you're not really bossy, you can just do 1/2 inch on both sides. But I'll do 1/2 inch and then 1 inch on the other side to make it a total of 1.5. So 1.5 inch here, 1 inch here to make it 1.5. This is it on the waist. And then on the other bust, I will do the same thing. So 1/2 inch here, 1 inch here to sum total to 1.5. That is done. So that will be taken straight down. Okay, but let us just finish that of the upper. So now on the waist, so the next thing is you want to curve it out to the bust point. For your neckline, for the dress, you can show off your cleavage however you want to show it. And if you don't want to show your cleavage, it is up to you. So for me now, from the chest line, I'm just going to go up by 2 inches or simply just measure 7 inches from the shoulder line downward. So depending on how much you want to show. Okay. So I'll just use my pencil for the neckline, so which is done. So now I can lift up the bust span line, which is 4.5. Good. So now for the contouring of the upper part, so I can just do the same thing. I can do 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here on this side, and just do about 1/2 inch on the other side too, or 3/4 inch because I'm busty. But if you are not busty, 1/2 inch on both sides is okay because there's not too much going on this dress. Okay, good. So I'm now going to connect straight to the bust point. Okay, that's good. Then blend up. Done. So I can now fix the neckline. So that's the neckline. So now for the wideness, you can do between 4.5 to 5, depending on how open you want it to be. So I'm just going to make it 5 inches for myself. But if your bust plan is there about 3.5 or 4, you can make it 4.5 or 4. Get that? So this is 5. I'm now going to connect to this part. So that is the neckline. Good. So now it's going to be sleeveless. Okay, so you don't want it getting to the edge of your shoulder. So I will want the wideness of the strap to be about 2 inches or 2.5. So we will need 1/2 inch on both sides for the seam allowance. So that should be about 3.5 is okay. So, or 3 inches. Since it is 2 inches, so 3 inches is just fine. So this is 3 inches here. And then I can you now have to blend from here into the armhole. Or even if you still want it to be more tiny than this, it depends on your preference. So just blend it into the armhole. So this is what we are cutting out. Then another thing is that because you are having a wider neckline, it's going to gape. That's why you have it falling off your shoulder. So in that case, we need to contour this part and just close it up. So by the time we are cutting it out, I will do that. Good. So before we move, now all we have to do is whatever we have taken, we need to add it back. So from the waist first, we have taken 1.5, total of 1.5 inches. You can do more than that, but there's no much going on this dress. So this is 1.5 inches that. So note that. Then you will add 1 inch for side seam allowance. So that will make it 2.5. So you had that. And then note, when we are joining this after cutting, we are still going to need 1/2 inch to join this together. But I'm going to add that on the fabric since I'm using a pattern paper. Hope that is well understood. Then I'll come here, measure whatever I have here, which is 3/4 or 0.75. I'll add it back here plus 1 inside seam allowance. So that is 1.75 or 1 3/4 inches. So I can now use my ruler to like that. Hope that is well understood. So we are done with the waist area. So now this same thing, I'm going to bring it down to the hip. So I did 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch on this side, and then 1 on the other side. That's 1.5. I'm going to do the same thing at this lower part too. 1.5. At the hip area, we have taken 1.5 inches for the dart. So you note that plus 1 inch size seam allowance, making 2.5. So you add it to the hip measurement. So whatever you have here, so I have that's 14 3/4. I'm going to make it about 15 here. Okay, just 1/4 inch more. And then the dress is formed. So can you see? So now for the contouring at the side, just pick any point. So you can just do 1/4 inch on both sides, or even up to 1/2 inch. You will thank me later for this. Okay, so you just take it that at that point. So another easy way to do this, so you just make it overlap. So this point and this point, so it might look somehow rumpled, don't worry, just make sure it overlaps. So this is what it will now look like. Then you can redraw the line. So you do the same thing to the back too. So that is it. Even at times I try to reduce it from this part, just little, just 1/4 inch, and then trim it off. All this is very necessary because it will really help it from gaping. So once that is done, we can cut it all out. Don't forget 1/2 inch for the shoulder seam allowance. So the next thing we have to do is to just create the curve by the side that's going to be gathered. So just make sure this is together because we are going to sellotape it back to be able to shape it into what we want. So I've sellotape it down, so you don't need to do it all down. The next thing is I will just do like 3 inches from the waist, or 2.5 depending on your preference. So this is 3 inches. I'm using my pencil. Okay, so here I just want it to be about 3 inches upward, 3 inches or 3.5 inches. So these 3 inches, 3 inches, just a guide. So then I can now look for a way to blend it and create what I want. So if you need this pattern master, we have it available for sale. So once that is done, then I can now blend. I'll look for ways to blend it perfectly. Or I can just use free hand, so till I get what I want. So I think I'm okay with this. I'm contented with what I've drew, so I'm just going to cut it out. So this is the part that will slash, and then so now we have everything separated. So can you see? So this part will be the one we use for the gathers. And here, remember, we did not have seam allowance for this part we cut out. So just write a hard half an inch seam allowance. Right here to add half an inch seam allowance so that you don't forget. Please, even here, add half an inch seam allowance. So here to add half an inch seam allowance. So that is all. So for the back, you start with your shoulder line, then you go to your chest line, okay, which is 9 inches, then the waist, which is 17.5, then the hip, which is 26, and the length of the dress. So those are the vertical measurements you need for the back. And then you would have seen that I left 1 inch zipper allowance here. That is very essential. Once you do that, you do the 3 inches, 8 inches standard that we came down by 1 inch, and then you connect your slope, then half of your shoulder, which is 8.5 for me, 8.5, and then I connected for the back. So for the back, I did not come in by any inches. So all I did is just 2 inches, mark a point, and then connect to my bust measurement. My bust divided bust measurement is 11.25, 11.25, as I used earlier on. So another thing you want to do is your bust span. So the bust span I use is 9 inches. Half of that is 4.5, which is what I have here. First on the chest line, and then the hip, you draw a straight line. For the back, we have to raise the back waist. That's because the front waist is always longer than that of the back. Okay, so I'm now going to go up by 1 inch from the actual waist we use from at the front. So from here now, I'll just come up by, maybe I should use another color so that it's going to be different. So come up by 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch. So having raised it up, then I can insert my waist measurement. So my waist measurement is 39 divided by 4 will give me 9.75 or 9.75. Then with the addition of the darts, that could be which will be 1 inch for the dart, that will make it 10.75. So I'll just put that so that we know how to connect it. So I'll just mark that point here. So from this raised part now, I'll now connect. So this is now the new waist for the back. So with this, you won't have your zipper bulging at the back. So we no longer need this very one. So this is the back measurement. So the next thing you will do is to go in by half an inch. So half an inch here, and then you connect it to about 1.5 inches above the chest line and straight to the hip. So this same thing we have done, you have to do it on the zipper, because now since it's 1 inch zipper allowance, so we have more here. So now from this actual one, now you come out by 1 inch, and then you do the same thing to wherever you stop here. And then to the hip line. So this is going away. So we have eliminated it. So this is now the new zipper allowance. Hope that is understood. The next thing is the dart. Half an inch on both sides is okay. Half inch here, half inch here. Then you come down by 1 inch here, or 1.25. Then at the hip, you come up by 1 inch. Then you can form the darts. So this is the waist dart. Now the bust is 11 and quarter, then plus 1 inside seam allowance, because we are not cutting through here, so that makes it 12 and quarter. So at the waist here, the waist is 9 and 3/4 plus 1 inch here, that will be 10 and 3/4 plus 1 inch for side seam allowance, that will be 11 and 3/4. The 11 and 3/4 is starting from this waist that we came in now. You know, the actual waistline was this, but we came in by half, and so you are starting from there, the 11 and 3/4 or 11.75, which is here. Then for the hip, my divided hip is 12 inches plus 1 inch for the side seam allowance. So that's what we have here. And then since this is 13, so that means I'll just add extra 1/4 inch for 13 and quarter or 13 and half. We'll just use the same thing. To the neckline, so at the front we did 5 inches, so I'll measure 5 inches. So for the depth, I'll just take it straight to the chest line, so you can make it lower if you want. So once that is done, I'll come here to measure 5 inches and then make a straight line. So for the wideness here, we made use of 3 inches, but you can confirm with the front. So here I have 3 inches. So it is 3 inches. So from here, I will measure 3 inches, which is here. And let's use ruler. The next thing we want to do is the contouring, which I've explained. So you do the same thing here and close it up. Overlap it. This is where the neckline stops. Hope you remember that. So we are going to start from there. True. So now for this side, all you have to do is to place this here. Can you see? And then I'm just going to trace it out. So we are only going to be using one of it, which is the front, and then we'll discuss this part. So what I'll do now is to trace it out. So this is for the back, so we can just keep this away. We'll only be using that of the front because it's the same thing. What I'm going to do now is to cut everything out on the fabric. So make sure your fabric is on fold, except for these parts, okay? Guys, I've cut out all the fabrics. So in case you are having yours with lining, so you just cut the lining the same way or facing, either one. So that is it. I've cut it all out. So this is the back. So the next thing for us now is to cut out the side. So we are just going to pick one. So you can pick the front. Now just come here and divide it up. So what I did is to just measure. Here I have 10 inches. Here I have like 10 and quarter. Okay. So at this middle here, I just came in and divided it into either 4 or 5. So I just did 2 inches. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I did that with my pencil. So I can still use my marker to do that. then come here, I place my 10 here, and then also divide it. So this will be the middle. So let me put M, and this will be the side. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5. So this is what we have. The next thing is for us to now fold the fabric. What I did now is to fold the fabric into two, because this will be for the for one side, the right side, and this upper one will be for the left side. So I want to cut it together. So all I did is to fold the fabric into two this way, okay, and then I'm going to fold it over this way. So I have it folded into four, so as much volume as I can get. After folding, so this is the end of the folded part. So I folded 2 yards of fabric for this, okay. So now I'll just spread it out. It's not in any particular order, okay, and then I'll just pin it down, okay. Come out by half an inch, because we need half an inch as we added on the fabric to join it together. So you just go as it's curved. So you also add half an inch to this part too. So I'm just going to cut it here. This part is on fold, so that will be on fold. Then I'm just going to cut it all out. So you can hold tape this back or keep your pattern if you want to make another one. So that is it. So you have two. So one will be for the right, and the other one will be for the left. So what you will now do is to run a gathering stitch from the beginning here all to the other side, because it will be gathered this way. So guys, the next thing you want to do now is to join the main dress together. We are going to use facing method, so that at least I'll be able to teach you that. So first, let me explain this. So this is it, and then the middle. So I'll just make sure I join this together to make it one. Okay, now for the facing, how do you go about it? So I'm just going to use the underbust. So we use that to turn it. So since the marking of the underbust is here, so we just cut that off for the facing. So to guide us to cut the back, just measure from the armhole to the side. So here I have 6 3/4. So that will guide me at the back. So for the facing, I'll cut the same thing. I'm just going to cut out this. We'll use it to turn the dress. This is for the back. Now don't forget all the places we had similar ones we've had on the pattern, but here now I added half an inch like we added on the gathered parts. So for the back too, all you have to do is to transfer the dart, which I have used my chalk to do on the wrong side. Okay, and also here I have transferred it, so you take it in. So that's what you are going to do for the back. Then for the facing, remember we measured the side to be 6 3/4. So 6 3/4. Then I'm just going to cut that straight line. So for the facing of the back, this is what I have. So I'm cutting only this for the back. So now all you have to do, so that it will match perfect, you can leave it like this, but whatever that is here, because you don't need the dart for the facing, here I have 3/4. I'll just come to the side here. Even if you don't do it, it's going to be okay, but I just want it to be perfect to match it, because we are taking in the dart for the main dress. So for the facing, I'll just remove these darts we have left. So this will be the facing. So that's all. So I've cut out the facing, and this is what it looks like. Don't forget to add the half an inch just as we did the other one. So you're just going to leave this, we'll turn it later. So this is what we now have. Indicate the upper part so that you don't mix it up. So I've joined the facing and the main fabric together. So this is what it looks like. So you can see well pressed. So I make sure I use my bust ham to iron the bust region. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is this. So I added interfacing to just make it a bit stable. It's optional because I'm going to put on a bra. So just make sure right side are facing each other this way. Okay, then I will now start here. So I'm going to sew half an inch or quarter of an inch, anyone. From here, the armhole, leave the shoulder part open, come here, quarter of an inch or half. Okay, then you go up again, leaving the shoulder region open, then you sew in half inch. So that's how I'm going to do for that. Then for the back, I've sewn in the darts. Okay, the next thing we want to do is to fix in the zipper before the facing, because we are going to finish that part too. So this is what it looks like. So the next thing is to finish it all, to sew in the zipper. So once that is done, then I can now finish it up with the facing the same way, right side facing each other. So once the zipper has been done, so I'm going to sew the armhole, then the neckline come this way. Once the zipper has been fixed, then you close it down. So that's how I'm going to do the back. From the leftover, I have belts, okay, that I'm going to attach. So that's 2 pieces. So I have the length to be 36 inches, okay, and the wideness is 5 inches. So that's optional. I have gathered this up, which we are going to attach to the side. I have sewn the armhole region and the neckline, then turn it out. So on the wrong side, this is how it looks like. You can see how beautiful it is. You can see everything. So I'm going to use hemming glue to glue it together, or simply pick up the facing and the seam allowance of the main fabric and tack it down. Also tack it down here. So that's another option. And another thing I failed to tell you is that I overlock all the fabric before sewing at all. So that's why you saw that all my raw edges are neatly finished. So this is what it looks like. So make sure you notch before turning. So now let me show you the back. So for the back, remember I told you to fix the zipper first. So that was the first thing I did. After that, I now place the facing on it, right side facing each other. First, I sew up the armhole and then the neckline. So once I got to the zipper, I closed it up here again. Then I'm going to bring it out. Another thing you should also note is make sure you notch the corners. Okay, I've done that. Make sure you notch the corners so it will be easier to bring out. So, and then before turning this, another thing you can do is you can just put the front. So this is the right side. Make sure the right side is facing the right side. So just put this inside. So make sure it is inside. So can you see the mistake I made? I made wrong side to the right side. So that is wrong. So I'm going to remove it and make sure right side is facing right side. Then bring it in. This is it on the inside. So you make sure it matches up this way. Can you see? And then I'm just going to sew half an inch. So by the time I bring it all out, the shoulder will be attached. So I'm going to do that to the other side. So I've turned it all out and everything is neatly done. So you can see everything on the right side. So everything matches. This is the wrong side. So can you see the facing after I bring it all out? Everything is neatly done. So you can see that. So the next thing you want to do now is to make sure right side are facing each other to finish the sides. Okay, so there is belts. So that one is optional. So the belts now will be inside. It will be inside on the wrong side. So you match it at the waist area. Okay, once you match it, you can pin it down. Then you pin it all together. So now bring out the facing. making sure it matches at this point. Then you start sewing from the facing 1 inch, because that was what we left on the side, 1 inch all down. Then you sew it on the other side. So once that is properly secured, then you can attach the gathered part to this side, on the wrong side. The dress is ready and it's just so beautiful. Okay, I'm going to place it on the mannequin for you to see how beautiful it is. So this is what it looks like. So you can see the gathering and all. This is the back. So you can see the back too, very beautiful. I'm going to show you the inside, so how the inside too should look like. Okay, so you can see how neat everything is. That is how yours too should be. So let me quickly put it on the mannequin for you to see. So make sure you overlock all the raw edges. So you can see how neatly I overlock all the raw edges. That is very important. And guys, this is the outfit we've just made. You can see how beautiful it is, isn't it? So in case you want your neckline to be lower than this, high like it this way, so you can do that. But every other thing is just so on point. You can see, so nice, so neat. Let me turn the back for you to see. So you can see the belt, everything looking so wonderful. Okay, and if this tutorial has been helpful, please give me a giant thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, share. So you can see the back, everything is just so nice. So that is it on the dress. And I remain your girl, Bilikis. Bye.